There's stories in our lives that we come back to over and over again. There's stories that shape us. There's stories that change us. The story I want to tell today, I've told you before, but I need to tell it because it's the thing that keeps coming up for Vince. It shaped how I live my life. It shaped how I think about things. It shaped Friends Church. And it happened quite a few years ago. I was driving down Highway number 2, coming back from Edmonton, flying down the road. Long weekend, Sunday night. Monday night. 1 million cars on the road. I don't think I'm exaggerating, right? Anyone who's been there knows it is just packed. And I'm driving behind my buddy. He's in a car in front of me. And all of a sudden, we're in the left lane, like flying down. And all of a sudden, he swerves across all the lanes of traffic onto the shoulder. What in the world? So I'm like frantically trying to get over. And I get over onto the side. He's quite a far ways back. I'm up here. I reverse down the side of the road. I get to him and I hop out and I'm like, dude, what? We almost died. And I'm expecting him to say, something happened with my car. I blew a tire. My engine blew up. I want something. And he just goes like this. Did you not see that car on the side of the road back there? I hadn't. I would have driven right by. We pull back, we both reverse back, we hop out of the car. There's a lady, she gets out, she's wearing like a really lovely, she looks like a banker. I don't know why I thought banker, but like a lovely skirt and like kind of small heels and like this lovely blouse, her hair just so. And she said, what's going on? She said, I got a flat tire, but don't worry, my husband's coming. We're like, oh, dude, we can take care of this. She's like, no. We went, yes, the game you play. Until finally she's like, okay, if you guys really want to, we can. So instantly we took this as a challenge. How fast can we change the tire? We had it done in like minutes. And as we were leaving, and this is the part that hits me, I still remember walking. My buddy had already walked ahead and I was behind. And kind of as a way to make small talk, I was like, how long have you been here? She said 2.5 hours. She had been on the side of the road on the number 2 highway, the busiest highway in Western Canada. I looked it up. 2.5 hours, and no one stopped for her. And if I'm honest, I wouldn't have stopped either. It was like she was invisible. But that's not the right word, is it? If I say she's invisible, that's me trying to not make this story sit in my heart. In my heart, I realize I was living my life in a way that she was invisible to me. I didn't even see her. How many people have I driven by and not even seen? And because this is the spiritual gym, let me ask you, how many people have you driven by and not even seen? And I don't say that to guilt us. I say that to highlight, it's like we live a certain way that the part of the world becomes invisible to us. And it's easy when I talk about somebody on the side of the road, there's a car there. It's like, Vince, how did you miss the car? But what about the person on the side of the road who's asking for lunch money? Do I see them? Do you see them? Those problems that are big and painful. And every time we see them, we're like, there's nothing I can do about this. And it's almost like to protect ourselves, our minds start to kind of just shut it off. It's like, okay, that part I can't see, this part I can, so I'm just going to live in here. And that part becomes invisible. It's not often that it's that black and white, is it? Sometimes it's much more subtle. It's like we can see most of somebody, but there's a part we can't see. My aunt came out when she was like 50. That's not fully honest. I outed my aunt mildly inappropriately when she was 50. Sorry. To me, it wasn't a big deal. It was just this moment where I realized I hadn't seen something. And suddenly I saw a part of her that I'd never seen. It was right there. I'd lived with her. She was like my closest relative. And I remember after talking to her, she said, I don't know why it's such a big deal in this family. Conservative Mennonite family, really? Okay. But she said, no. I brought my sisters together probably 10 years ago. I sat them down in a room. And I said, I like girls. And they all said, our best friends are girls. We like them too. Do you see how they saw her, but it's like her sexual orientation was like, their hands were over it. Like, nope, we don't see that, we don't see that. If you've ever had a partner or a child or a parent say to you, it's like you don't see me. I think this is what they're talking about. Oh, no, you see this part of me. Yeah, you got that. But this part over here, it's like your hands are in front of it. It's like the lady on the side of the road. It's like, was there a car there? No, there's no car there. Of course there was no car. Can you feel this inside of you? Sometimes it's parts you don't like. Or parts that aren't like you. There's parts, God bless my wife, she's basically an angel. But sometimes there's little bits of her that I'm like, ooh, that's challenging. I'm just going to not see that part. I'm not going to have the conversation. What parts do you find difficult seeing in the people around you? What parts keep coming up and over again? You're kind of just like, I'm just sick of dealing with this, so I'm just going to pretend that's not there. How much of our lives are invisible? And how much, when someone says you don't see me, we're like, no, I see you. What are you talking about? But the reality is, we can't even see what we can't see, right? That's the whole thing about invisibility. I didn't know there was a car there. It wasn't like I saw the car and went, yeah, she's a banker. She could change her own tire. Come on. What car? What part of you? What person? If we want to get really painful here, let's flip it around. I've been talking about not seeing, rendering parts of our world invisible. But what about when we're on the other side of that? Walking through our lives, invisible to the people we love. Not even being acknowledged. Not being invited. Having to only be half of ourselves to be loved. People end their lives because they don't feel seen. The pain's too great. There's a story from our tradition. Actually, there's 3 stories. They're called the creation myths. There's 3 different versions. They're all quite different. The one I want to talk about today talks about the beginning this way. Now, just let me put a caveat here. If you take the Bible literally, all good. I tend to not. You don't need to take the Bible literally to have this story mean something. In my mind, these stories mean something not because something literally happened, but because there's a truth there. Whether it happened or not, there's a truth there that they're trying to get at through story. And this story hits me. It says, in the beginning, everything was in chaos. We could go into 3 weeks of discussing what chaos means in their culture. I'll give you guys a pass on that one. There's chaos, and the creator comes in the beginning, Bereshit, and says, I will create order from chaos. Chaos is often considered evil. order is good. So they take light and dark and they separate it, because before it was all mixed together. Light and dark. If you guys look up for a second, see those big hoops? Have you ever seen a Jewish person wear a hat on the back of their head? It's part of their tradition that says they're covered before God. These are representations of that in artistic form. And then on each of them is the chaos being separated into order. Light and dark, land and water. The one I want to talk to you guys about is that one over there. Because at one point, in the process of creating order out of chaos, and in some sense the flavor here is good from evil. In some sense, there's this idea that says, in order, the Creator creates humans. And it says this line, and this is the line. This line has colored our tradition. This line has colored our legal system. This line has covered everything. And it's the very line that I wasn't getting with that woman on the side of the road. It says, humans were created in the image and likeness of the divine. Note, not some people we like were created in the image and likeness of God, and those other crazy people, screw them. They're nothing. It's not our team is in the image and likeness of God, not them. The left, the right, whatever it is, all people equal with value intrinsic to them. When I rendered that woman invisible, I lost something of that line, didn't I? Oh, my buddy in front of me, he's in the image and likeness of God. Her? Nothing. A newer tradition says it this way. Remember, we don't say God is. That's epistemologically challenging. I'm not sure a really simple way of saying that. Let's just say, if you figured out God as a word, as a conception, you're smarter than I am. What we do here is we say we have conceptions that we call God. In The Simpsons, they have a conception of God. It's the old man in the sky that they don't show his head, right? It's always he's sitting down, he's like, Homer, come on. That's a conception of God. One of the last books written has this conception of God that says this: when you love somebody, when you see somebody over there and you act in a way that's loving towards them, that love is the divine. There's no super being conception. There's no up there who's happy with you for love. No. The very love itself is the divine. When we tie it back into this idea that says we're all valued, then my actions are literally closing my eyes to the divine. Because in loving somebody else through that conception, I see the face of God. Not literally, but kind of, I don't want to say metaphorically either, that's the wrong word. Not through a conception of God of a human seeing another human, but two humans seeing each other and interacting in a way that the divine is in that moment. Does it make sense? The divine was there through love. And if I want to connect to the divine, and if that's part of your tradition or your spirituality, the invisibility literally blocks us from the divine because we're not seeing them, we can't even love them. So not only did I screw this lady, not only did my friend help me see her and we were able to help her, I was behaving and I was rendering my world in such a way that I was blocking myself from the very thing that I wanted, a connection to something more. When I reached out to Shannon, our designer, she designed our series art for us. Can you throw that up for me? I talked to her about this conception of God and why I cared so deeply about this series. And she came back with this image. It's actually an image that she shot. It's an image of a person, and in their face she's put a mirror to say, no. the looking at another human being is more than just seeing another human being. It's reflecting all that is. It's reflecting yourself and how you interact with the world. It's the very divine itself. And our tradition says sometimes you can look into another human being and literally see something more there. The divine is right there. And so when we look at our whole model of how we do spirituality, do you see how much of relationship is there? Because it's not just, or at least we don't see it as just, oh, hey, Eddie, how's it going? It's like, oh, good, Vince, whatever. It's going, no, this moment can be something so much more than that, if we're willing. Now, when I first read the book we've used for this series, if you can just get a chance, throw it up for me. The subtitle, I think, is what hit me so hard. It said, "The Art of Seeing Others Deeply and Being Deeply Seen." You know what jumped out for me? A connection to the divine. He's seeing something. He sees something in this, in the image and likeness of God. And when we love, the divine is in that moment. The divine is the love. But you see the line he uses? The art of seeing, not the morality of seeing, not like, if you don't do this, I'm going to wag my finger at you, or some Simpson super being conception of God is going to get angry at you. You weren't loving, you horrible person. To hell with you. That's not the framing here. It's like I said in the beginning, we all have capacity. What are we going to do with it? And if seeing others deeply and being seen deeply is a connection to the divine, then how do we find that art? And that's the word. Art. Looking at another human being and knowing how to be loved in that moment, that's an art. Jeff started this series with a story of Jesus. Now, Jesus, I'll stay in the story. He's got a complex relationship with this group of people. He runs into a woman who's a Samaritan. Now, remember, you all think Samaritan as people who do good to strangers. That's not what Samaritan means in their stories. Samaritan means somebody who not only isn't doing their religion right, is doing it deliberately wrong and is kind of undermining the whole system, aka the enemy. So Jesus walks up to a well in enemy territory, sees a woman who's his enemy. And Jeff talked, I can't remember exactly how he said it, but it was like Jesus saw her in that moment. Deeper. It wasn't just like, oh yeah, there's her, whatever. No. Deeper. This whole series is about learning to go deeper. The skill, the art of deeper. She leaves the conversation, she runs home. She's like, I just had some rando see me more deeply than I have been seen in a whole long time. She was lit up. We've been using the word illuminator. She was illuminated. A moment of the divine? I think so. I don't know about you, but I want to be able to do that. Could you imagine seeing someone so deeply that they run home and tell all the people in their lives because it's impacted them so much? Could you imagine seeing the face of God? Like someone looks at me and I act in a skillful way and see them deeply, and they're not seeing Vince anymore. They're literally seeing the divine in my behavior. Come on. How do we do it? Luckily, Brooks is smarter than all of us. Well, maybe not you, but smarter than me. He's got 3 steps for this one. Can you throw up the long quote for me? There's a really long one if you don't mind. There we go. He says, these days, if you want to know someone well, this is see them deeply. You have to see the person in front of you as a distinct, never to be repeated individual. This whole series has been about that. How do we see them? We accompany them. We don't put labels on them. We don't push the moment. We sit there with them and see who they are, see as they reveal themselves. This is all seeing a never before, never to be repeated individual. But you've also got to see the person as a member of their groups. He always just gets it trickier. It's like, come on, dude, one. You've also got to see their social location, the way some people are insiders and other people are outsiders, how some sit on the top of society and others are marginalized to the fringes. The trick is to be able to see each person on all these three levels all at once. Tricky. But that's the art. All at the same time. That's the art. See an individual, we've talked about that a ton. First, you got to be able to see them. Like Vince, no more rendering people invisible. This is the part where you say to yourself, I will try and see the person. Not just shortcut it. Oh, I know who they are. Yeah, just whatever. No, see them. Strangers. Hey. Hi. My name is Vince. Who are you? We've spent the whole week talking about that, or the whole month talking about that. But there's the second piece. Be someone who's a member of a group. My wife has 2 boys. So I have 2 stepsons. Great guys. I want to say 29 and 30. Yeah, nailed it. They have their own lives, their own houses, they're, got their own careers, whatever. And it's like I live in this way that my wife and I kind of are like, not parents. Because I'm technically not a parent, I'm a step-parent. But every once in a while, around holidays, it's like the mom component of my wife starts to show up in a way that I don't expect. And suddenly she's talking about getting together, and when are the boys coming over, and at the beginning it was kind of like, whoa, where did the mom show up? What, huh? My wife is from the group Mother. And though that, as Jeff said, he said it very clearly, it's not all of her, it's definitely part of her. At the beginning, it was kind of like, I've had a busy season, whatever, it's holiday season, I want to relax. As her mother side kicks in, it's like, the boys need to be at our house having pie and whipped cream for sure. And I'm like, this is my house. I want to sit and watch TV and drink a beer. What? I learned poorly over the years. I need to kind of recharge myself before holiday season. I need to clean my crap up, make sure the house is a bit cleaner. I need to clear my schedule a little bit. Because Mom, that matters to my wife. How I interact with her as part of that group matters. I'm from the group, you guys call it extreme sports, I call it Saturday. That's part of the group I'm from. And when you see me, there's a reason I talk about dirt biking a lot. It's for my mental health. It's the thing that calms my ADD down like nothing else. Riding on the edge of death at all times is the most calming thing for my mind. I'm telling you, it works. If you have an active mind like mine, come on out, I'll take you dirt biking. It'll save your life. What group are you from? I'm a student. One of the groups I hide a lot is pastor. As soon as someone asks me what I do, I get lumped into a big old group that I'm like, I'm not quite that. Eesh. Let me just go over and not and be in that group. So if ever someone says, did you meet Vince? And you say he's a pastor, they're like, no, he's not, he's a welder. It's probably because I told them I'm a welder. I do weld and I'm pretty good, but I didn't want the group, right? But to understand me, to get me, you have to understand I am a pastor. I believe in this role that says I am here to inspire the world. If you don't understand that about me, you're not going to get me. What groups are you from? Male, female, single, married, white, marginalized, like whatever group, Mennonite. Just give me a shout out to my fellow Mennonite over there. And how does that color? Look around you. Think about the people in your life. What groups are they a part of? That's the art. How do you come in and honor that group? At first, I honored my wife's family by being very honest that their Norwegian food is a bit like this. It's like fancy hash browns. She's eyeballing me. Just so you know, first I put ketchup on them, which was horrible. Like, to this day, they laugh at me about that. Not because it was funny, more because, like, you're not one of us. I didn't see the group, did I? I thought this was about being an individual. How good are you at seeing the groups? And knowing how to come alongside the group. The last one, social status, social hierarchy, whatever word you want to call. This is how it works. We just raised 800 pairs of socks and brought them to people who experience homelessness. Somebody who experiences homelessness, it happens for as many reasons as you can think. But there's one thing in common. Getting out of homelessness is not easy. Me and you can say, hey, I need a little bit more money. I can do something about that. I have social standing that allows me to do things that gets me ahead. Most of them do not. We could have said, you guys all don't have socks. You walk an average of 30,000 steps a day. Why don't you fix that? That's not understanding social status. That's not understanding that what's easy for me in my social status is hard for them in their social status. Now, the interwebs have made this a villain proposition. If you have more than somebody else, you're bad. If you have less than somebody else, you're good. At Friend Church, that's I against them language. We don't play that game. What we say is, I have something. Maybe it's social standing. Maybe it's extra finances. I don't know what we got. But we use it to help somebody else. We don't do it by shaming them. We slip the socks kind of underneath the door and let them take it without any risk to their dignity. That's understanding how they sit in our social world, where their group is in the social hierarchy. And we attempt to use that knowledge and artfully come alongside and be loving to them. What social standing do the people in your life have? Is it the same as yours? Better than yours? Worse? How do you use that knowledge to be loving, artfully loving to them? Do you demand they just be like you? Well, it works this way for me. You should just do that. Or do you see that part of them too? That's how you see another individual, skillfully and artfully. The reason we tell you these stories is because we're not good at this. Jeff and I screw this up all the time. We need the reminder. And maybe you do too. That there's a way to see the world and use that knowledge skillfully. Now we're going to step outside of that. Can you throw up the relational model for me, Holly? We've been talking about this model for a year now. It's not true, it's not untrue, it's just a model. It's a way of looking at the world. This entire series is tied to this model, and I want to talk about it so you see it clearly. A lot of us live in this I against them phase. We call it war. We call it war because it costs a ton. I looked into the war between Russia and Ukraine. Some estimates have it at $1.6 trillion a year. And they're just blowing it up. Trillion. When we're in the mindset, we're in the ideology with the people around us of I against them, holy crap. The amount of energy is wasted. The amount of effort put in with nothing coming back. It's kind of like take your inside world, take a drill bit, drill a massive hole in the bottom, and see if you can recharge yourself. It just drains you. Whatever happens, it's drained. You just feel like constantly like there's nothing I can do. I have nothing left. I'm completely drained. I would love to say you can kind of work your way out of this, but my best thinking says there's an ideological shift that happens. Where you say, I am not going to see my world in I against them. I will not see it as I win and you lose, or you win and I lose. No. We will be in we. Win-win. Me and my wife had this conversation. At the end, we both said, if it's not good for you, we're not doing this. If it's not good for me, we're not doing this. Now, this is the part I want you to see. That when you get out of I against them, when you put a stopper in that kind of internal spiritual bucket inside of you, it starts to fill up. At first, you don't realize it's happening. You're still freaked out, and you're always on edge and like, oh, I can't help. No, what about me? But over time, you realize in win-win, it's like your spiritual tank starts to fill up. And all of a sudden, you start to look around and you're going, I am not in crisis anymore. I have extra to give. The middle line is like the fueling mechanism of our spirituality. I don't think it can happen in I against them, but in that middle thing, it's like we start to learn how to fuel ourselves, and we're not looking at the world in chaos and going, I just got to protect myself. No, we're going, I have enough. Who can I help? The top level, we haven't talked about a lot, taking water. It's where you give without any expectation of return from that person. Don't put up your hands. Anybody, don't put up your hands though. Anybody gives socks so that a homeless person would come and say thank you to you. Anyone give a gift to somebody who doesn't know you're giving the gift to them? You just give a gift and ask for something in return. No. When you're taking water, you literally look at something in the world and go, I have lots here. Let me give something to you. Let me bless you. Let me make the world better for you. What do I need in return? Nothing from you. This is where all we've learned in this series, you get to use it to bless the people around you. You'll be in a grocery store. You'll see somebody who looks like they're having a bad day, and you go, hey, Jeff talked about accompaniment. What if I just walked up next to this person and was like, yeah, having that kind of a day? Yeah. What if that moment, you just, stranger, I see you. Somebody who's walking through the room and you realize, or you're at a party, I watch Jeff do this all the time. It kills them when someone's at a party and it doesn't look like they're having fun. If you ever at a party with Jeff and he walks in and you try and shake his hand, but there's someone behind you who's not having fun, just don't even bother trying to say hi to Jeff. He's like right by you. It's like he's got a magnet to them, and he's like, sits down, he's like, hey, how's it going? You see them just start to light up. He sees me. It's water. We look through our lives and we go, we have finances, we have capacity, we have regulation. If you can regulate your nervous system, I'm telling you, that is a gift that keeps giving and giving. You can diffuse anger. You can calm people down. You can parent like a ninja. All ways we take water. Now, old school tradition, our tradition would say this. You take water because there's something wrong with you, and this is how you atone for that. I am broken, therefore. Friend Church sees it differently. We see this middle line, this win-win where we have healthy, happy relationships. It's the fueling system for us to take water. This isn't just martyrdom. This isn't just give until it hurts and then give more and then burn out and then we laugh at you or something. I don't know what we do. This isn't like the more it hurts, the better the water is. This is build a system. Take yourself out of against them. Build a robust center section that fuels you so that you can take water and they don't give you anything in return, but it's like your world's fueling you. Your relationships are fueling you. Your family's fueling you. Your friendships are fueling you. The water you can take when that part is healthy is insane. And it feels like this. That was easy. What else? That was easy. What else? All that we've shown you how to build healthy relationships is to try and get you out of I against them into the first level of we, build a robust section of we so that you can take water to the world and literally change the world. And not once and then you burn out. Over and over and over. And suddenly you see in every person, every stranger, any person, you see the face of God. I can be love in this moment. That's what we're trying to inspire ourselves to do. That's what we're trying to inspire you to do.